Recently I was fitted for my 2025 driver, and again the driver that I was fitted for, if you haven't watched the channel, was the Cobra LS DS Adapt driver. It had a graphite design shaft in there, it was a 9°, it had the Future 33 fittings set to be a little bit fade bias and a little bit less loft to help me straighten up my flight. But there's a lot of stigmas around custom fits. Should you be custom fit? Should you go for a fitting? Is it a waste of money? Is it not a waste of money? Do they just charge you more for a premium shaft just for the sake of it? Well, I've done what most people do. I've borrowed a Cobra LS driver off James Robinson, and a lot of people might go onto the likes of eBay, which you can see a couple of options on there for £330, around about £130 then the driver would cost you brand new. Because this is what a lot of people do. Go online, look to purchase one, get one to come, and then from there, although it might have been the best driver for them, with the wrong shaft, is it? And that's a fantastic drive, a high towering shot, and you'll think, well, that's a lot higher than potentially in that fitting, which I will tag below and we'll put a picture of the thumbnail on the screen now. That's because this is a 10.5°, so straight away I've borrowed a club that was not the one that I was fitted for. I've also got a Denali shaft in there, and it's also a different flex. But this is what we see from a lot of people. They don't get the perfect spec offline. They think it's got to be about the same, it's got to be similar, but it costs you more than what you've saved. And guys, if you're new to the channel, then welcome to this YouTube channel. If you want to hit that subscribe button and join us on the journey to 50,000, that would be great. And guys, if you're a regular viewer of the channel, welcome back. But you might be thinking, how does a driver that you get for cheaper off eBay cost you more money? Well, if it's the wrong driver, how many times I see people then have to resell that driver, they lose a little bit more money, and then they probably go and get fitted the second time round and buy the driver they were fitted for. And this is where this can cost you more money, and this is where potentially, is fitting wrong, is fitting right? We're going to try and prove that in this video. But you will see up here that has performed well, and that is the driver head, because that was nearly missed. That was off the toe, that was the first swing of the day. It's a long way down here on the 16th hole at Woolley, and I'll be more than happy with that tee shot. However, it was a total different ball flight, but would it have gone further with the fitted graphite design shaft? And I'm going to say definitely. I believe that obviously that fitted club, that correct shaft, is a huge part. Again, having that loft as well down at 9° instead of 10.5 and having to change the lie angle to get the loft that we require is going to make it easier for me to be more consistent. But let's go and get some numbers on the next tee. Let's compare it to my current driver, the makeshift driver, and let's see how it compares to those fitted numbers. And we know a big talking point with this driver is the future fit, but again, it's the shaft in this club that maybe isn't working as good for me. So we have a 60 gram, a 6.0. So we did get fitted into an extra stiff shaft, so that certainly changes it. The weight is exactly the same as what I was fitted for, but let's see some numbers now using the GolfJoy GDS Pro. Again, out of the middle, but up, down there, let's see, 268 carry going 285. So you can see that turned over a little bit more, and this is where in the fitting, which again is linked below, you'll see that we did obviously start to move weights around, start to change things to be able to get that ball going straight down the middle of that fairway. We'll let the boys come cruising across. Fantastic condition here at the moment is Woolley Park. The boys are doing a fantastic job out here, as always. Right. So a good strike there. Straight out of the middle again. So we're starting to see, how's that performed? 280. Going 295, so certainly similar to those numbers that we did get in that fitting. So very interesting there, buying this straight off the rack, or let's say borrowing it off James Robinson, but if you bought one off eBay, can we get it to work? Well, the answer is yes, potentially, but are we going to get consistency? So yes, you might save £130. You might get an absolute steal on one of these clubs on eBay, but is it going to perform consistently for you? Is it worth paying that little bit of extra money? Is it worth paying that little bit more for a more premium shaft that gets you that consistency again, helps you get your handicap down? Because yes, people always say, well, are they better than drivers 10 years ago? Well, it's all about how it is fitted for you, in my opinion. So are you getting the right shaft? Because that shaft and that head design might last you for 10, 15 years if it's correct. Let's go one more now. Right, and that is moving a little bit left, not the best strike to say the least, and we're down there at 261, even going 277. So straight away there, 3 drives, 2 not in a fantastic position, 1 drive that yes we would take all day long, but not as long as we saw in the fitting. So very interesting there, but let's see how that compares to our current driver. So current driver in use is a little bit of a makeshift mini driver if you don't watch the channel, but guys, if you aren't a subscriber, make sure to hit that subscribe button. But the Takomo Ignis D1. So again, I've been hitting this quite well. It does have a shorter shaft in there. It does have a 3 wood length shaft in there, but I've been more consistent with it and it's been in the bag for a while. But let's have a quick look at those averages before we hit this club. So if we look at those averages, we can see that the carry distance on average is just under 270 yards and the total distance 286. But for me, the main thing here is when we talk about the average dispersion and deviation. You can see on that chart 2 quick lefts, 1 just down the right of the center line, but we've had 3 different ball flights. We've had obviously 2 in the same direction, but consistency isn't there, and that's very interesting to say. It's the same driver head. Yes, it's a little bit more lofted up. We have knocked that loft down and we have tried to make it a little bit fade bias, but that shaft and head combination just simply wasn't working. But let's go now into this Takomo driver and let's see how this performs. Straight away there, a much lower ball flight, a much more penetrating ball flight, drawing just back to that centre line, 280 carry, 297.5, and that is interesting because that is from a club with a shorter shaft. So very interesting there that a different shaft setup, we can change the ball flight, we can get more distance, but straight away off that first shot, and the only shot I've hit, it is more down the middle and gives me that a little bit more confidence. But let's hit a couple more down the last here at Woolley Park. Let's make the decisions on whether you should be distracted, you should go and buy something because it's a little bit cheaper off eBay or Facebook Marketplace or even golf clubs for cash, or should you just wait for a properly fitted driver that in the long run might cost you a little bit more money, but it'll lower your scores and you probably won't have to purchase again. So after all, it's probably saving you money. And I know there will be comments on this video saying, well, you're not comparing apples with apples, but that's very much the case, and I agree with that. But this is what we see time and time again. People may come for a fitting at Waterfront and you see them come in, have the fitting, pay the money for the fitting, go away. Maybe they don't order the driver because they're going to have a look round online, and then they end up maybe getting something like this. And don't get me wrong, the Denali shaft is a good premium shaft that comes as a stock in these Cobra drivers this year, and potentially they will be the perfect one for you. But buying them online off eBay or borrowing one like we all do could potentially put you off this driver. For example, I borrowed this off James Robinson. I've not hit it as far, I've not hit it as consistent, so potentially I could be thinking, right, maybe it's not the driver for me. I'll keep searching, or maybe I'll buy it, see how I get on, and then if not, I'll sell it and go for another fitting, and it becomes a vicious cycle of spending a lot of money and not really getting anywhere. For me, this Cobra driver is the best driver for me this year. It was fitted down at SGGT with Lawrence, and he certainly did what he does. He got me into the right shaft, he got me into the right setup on this hosel. Yes, 33 different options here with Cobra, but he got me in the right one to hit it more consistent. But just because I was a little bit impatient, I've tried to get a different driver. It's not the right shaft, although that's a fantastic shot. I don't feel like I have control of that club face. And that's not what we want when we're potentially spending either $469 for a brand new Cobra DS Adapt, or even if you're buying something off eBay at £330 or just over £300 second hand, we still don't want to be having that indecisiveness over it and not being consistent with it, because the season is here, the weather is finally picking up here in the UK, you're probably getting into your competitions and you want to have a club that you are confident with over the ball. But two totally different shots there, both workable, both in the fairway on this 18th hole. But is it better than my current driver? Maybe not. And shall we wait for the graphite design to arrive? Because I think this is going to be the best driver I've tested for a long time. It could be in the bag for many a year, because the driver that Lawrence built will certainly take some beating. And although two fantastic drives, a lot of deviation again between those. Similar strikes, different lines. Yes, that has used a little bit of the slope to get down there. Not the consistency I want. I would take these, I would be able to get on that 18th green and hopefully finish off my round with a birdie. But guys, are you going to be that guy? Are you that guy who potentially gets your stuff off eBay? You try a couple of drivers, you don't think so much about the shaft, because that could be costing you plenty of shots. It could be hindering you from getting your scores down, beating your playing partners, and just enjoying your golf that little bit more, but more importantly, costing you a lot more money, even though you think you're saving it. Guys, if you're enjoying the content, smash that subscribe button, and we'll see you again later in the week.